To take it. He's gonna hold it down. This dog's barks and it bites. Up against one and it gets it. No, you beautiful monster.
Hello everybody, welcome back. It's game day 6 of Polaris and I'm back once again with Got Moxie alongside me. It is the side quest pre-show and we're going to talk about today's games. How are you feeling today, Moxie?
I'm doing good, Twiggy. I'm ready and raring to get to see whether or not we're going to have the expected outcome or whether, like yesterday, it's going to be slightly different to that script that we're expecting to see.
Absolutely. Well, our first game coming up is going to be an incredibly exciting one. The two teams have a lot of fans, and it's going to be XL versus Alliance. Now, Alliance, they've got a sub coming in, and they're also playing with their coach, Desmo. I think a player has COVID, so we're going to be seeing a little different side of Alliance today, something a little different from them. So what are you expecting coming out of that first game, Moxie?
I mean, it's always going to be a tough one when you're coming in with subs and when your coach is forced to fight for you, but even on week 1, we've seen Alliance not be the same Alliance that we got to see in Split 1. Their best player, Hype, the guy who you got to see at that highlight reel on the bumper, absolutely popping off, has been picked up. He's gone on to greener pastures up over in VCT. So too has Lucka and Sick, and it does show in terms of this team's success. In Split 1, it wasn't until round 6 that we actually saw Alliance lose their first ever match to Tundra. Now the shoe is on the other foot entirely. We're into week 3 and they still haven't picked up a single win.
Well, speaking of week 3, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's action because it was an absolutely incredible day and we can just watch what went on there.
Yeah, we were actually getting to see this front and center. Twiggy, the first matchup, H2O versus Human Tripwise, went the way that we expected it. A lot of it was off of the back of some really beautiful play coming out from Ember on the Omen. We pointed it out. This is one of those guys that you do need to watch. That controller able to come in absolutely clutch. And while H2O were able to have a lot of rounds where they showed a lot of promise, they struggled to deal with Human Tripwise, and specifically Radsky, able to just push up on the attack, always going for that window control.
Yeah, Devo obviously a massive duelist performance as usual, but we'll see later on in this highlight reel. Right here is where Radsky really comes alive, and this is just development from Human Tripwise, and the H2O just couldn't deal with that flanking pressure from Radsky. We'll see him go up into rafters several times here and get 2, 3, 4 kills pretty much every round, completely unstoppable. I think that was really the catalyst for Human Tripwise's win there.
Well, we talk about expected outcome. This match was not expected. It went the distance. Kova up against Finest. Finest having a tradition in the 3 weeks that we've seen them of losing that first map, but did go the grain. Kova able to walk away with Haven, looking extremely dominant, coming in with that fade gameplay that we got to see. And then, as we transitioned over to Fracture, there was a lot of struggle. They couldn't really push onto that B side. They could never really oust kicks up in tower, and it did not work out in the long run.
Yeah, that first half they gave away 7 rounds in a row, and that ultimately led to them losing that second map. But into the third, Finest come away with 10 rounds to 6 to begin with, but Kova staged one of the best comebacks I've ever seen to bring it to 10-10, 11-11, 12-12, and finally they made it 15-13 to end out the game, and it was just a stellar performance from all parties to wake up and absolutely go ham towards the end of the game.
Yeah, what was it? It was 10-6? 4 rounds behind, they were able to clutch it out to 10-10, and then it was just that pendulum swing. It turned into a ping pong match between those two players, allowing Kova to creep up into that second position. Whether or not they're going to get to keep that spot and tie first place with Hookahs, or whether Hookahs are going to be able to pull ahead. This is going to be their third game that they play on week 3. If they're able to take that 3-0, they do differentiate themselves from the rest, being the only team with a 100% win rate.
Yeah, that would be absolutely massive for any given team to just be able to pull ahead from the pack a little bit, because that top four, if they do lose this game, will all be 2-1, and they're still going to have to make that difference happen, because it is the top four teams that are going to be moving through to the playoffs. So really important to get ahead of the pack towards the start. We're nearing the halfway line of the group stage, so everybody needs to really get ahead of themselves right now, so they don't have to do a catch-up game in the last 4 weeks. We can take a look at the talent predictions, I'm pretty sure, for what's going to happen today, see exactly what everybody thinks is going on. Will we have another unanimous vote? Well, for the first game, everybody thinks XL is going to take over Alliance, but here we go, some variants for once. It's Heat and Hookahs, and only me and Sam think that Hookahs are going to win that game.
So, Twiggy, why was it exactly that you think that Hookahs are going to be able to go for that upset against Finest?
I think that Hookahs, here's the thing, right? So in our interview yesterday, we saw it was Yesmond who was talking about how their game against Heat was a bit of a fluke. Heat won that game 2-0, and quite convincingly, in fact. He said it was a bit of a fluke, and he showed that against Finest yesterday after they won that game. So, I'm thinking maybe, Heat maybe a little bit I'm not going to say overrated, obviously they're an amazing team and they're not overrated in the slightest, but I think maybe Hookahs could edge that closer just a little bit. I think it's going to be a 2-1, I think it's going to be close, but I do think Hookahs are going to come away with that win.
Yeah, and Sam seems to agree with you. It's just you two who are going to try and move away from the rest of us who have picked Heat. And for me, I do have to go with Heat. They were one of the first ones in the region to get to play that Fade coming on through from Monstrum, and it really did put a spanner in the works of the team that they were up against. There was some real struggles where Cova were not really able to adapt with the pick coming on through, and you could see it was reflected in the way that they could try and approach those sites. What should be very easy to be able to deal with, very predictable, oh, there's a chamber on the backside, suddenly became a lot harder to try and get on top of.
Well, we're getting our players ready for our first game right now, so if you want to go check out our socials before we start XL versus Alliance, go take a look at all of that. You can follow us on Twitter, you can follow them on Facebook, you can follow on Instagram. There they are, ValLeague_NE on all of those social platforms if you want to keep up with the action. Stay ahead of the standings and make sure that you know what's going on as well as us. But apart from that, I think we're going to go straight into a quick break before... Oh, no, we've got some stuff to show you. We've got some interesting stuff to show you. Sorry, there are those the cool things they prepared, so we can head to that real quick before we head into our first game.
Yeah, we are going to get those little headers that we've had prepared for this show, exactly. And we talked about it, right? The fact that Monstrum from Heat was one of those first players picking up the Agent of Fade. He is, however, not the only one now, because yesterday we got to see Ale picking it up on their matchup and able to run it really efficiently over on Haven. So we are starting to see a shift away from the meta. Even in the interviews, we've had a lot of talks with players being like, okay, well, why do you think teams are still so stuck on the Sova instead of picking up the Fade? And there was admission, she's a very strong agent, but sometimes you just want to go with something that you've practiced, that you've scrimmed, that you've got the setups for. However, we're now seeing that because teams are so stuck on that Sova, if a Fade comes through, they're not always prepared and really able to adapt into the problems that she poses in time to be able to win the maps against her.
Yeah, Ale really put up a massive performance on Fade yesterday. I mean, it just showed how that kind of gap in the playstyle can really lead to some incredible plays that come out. We think of Fade maybe a little bit as a kind of bridging the gap between Skye and Sova, in that there is that recon ability a little better than Skye, but at the same time, there's also that pushing power that Sova doesn't really have, and that really can make all the difference. If you're a more aggressive team, you like to play off the back of, blinds, or maybe, just recon abilities that kind of hamper the abilities of the opposition. Playing with that Fade can be absolutely massive. It can ramp up your attacks exponentially, and you can go in with a lot of pushing power. So I do think Fade is going to start to be picked up a little more in Northern Europe. We haven't really seen her too much, obviously, but we've seen her quite a lot in other Valorant regional leagues. So I'm interested to see how much more that's going to be picked up in the coming weeks.
Well, I'm hopeful. It was obviously Heat that ran her first. I'm really hoping that we're going to get to see them run it today in that second matchup, because not only do you have that information, that pushing power, you also have a lot of synergy potential there, right? You say, oh yeah, she's a little bit like a Skye. She's also a little bit like an Astra. coming through with the fact that you have the seize, the hold that guarantees the player is stuck in that circle unless they have a TP ability able to eke themselves out of it. And we ourselves actually got to see in the Influencer Showdown how devastating Fade coupled up with nano swarms of shock darts can be on somewhere like Ascent B, where you sit backside, you do your business as usual, you use that seize to come on through, line it up with that recon bolt or shock dart from a server would be fitted through the grill, and then you wombo combo it up with a nano swarm and wham bam, that's gonna be a dead player guaranteed if anyone's standing in the space.
Well, we'll see if anybody is going to be picking up Fade very shortly. We're going to head to a quick break, take a look at some content while you wait.
Okay, let me answer this. Okay, it is Hadi. Hadi is so toxic in rank.
No.
I'll give you one. I'll give you one strategy. This is what he does. Say someone says something in rank, you'll be like, "What did you say?" Muted, and he'll say it in game. So the guy said, and then he doesn't mute them. So he does it to get a reaction out of the player. Full toxic.
I'm not toxic.
Sunshine.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not toxic directly, but like the way he speaks when he dies and like when it goes wrong, it's hilarious.
He's not toxic towards us or anything. He's just like, oh, blah blah blah, and he'll just, you know.
It's like watching Tyler 1 play League, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's really entertaining.
King's monitor fell off, didn't it?
Yeah, monitor has fallen, and like after that he's playing, and the screen is falling. And
his brothers are holding it for him and stuff.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Wasn't there once where Kim had to take the lasagna dog?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
that's true.
I think it was Kim, but I think it was lasagna pizza at Darwin, and we had to pause for like 5 minutes and, you know, be like,
Yeah, and
technical.
it took him so long to come back.
Yeah, true. And then we could just hear him, you know, at the end, like he was like yelling while in the kitchen. I'm on
Ready,
the way!
ready, ready.
Ready.
Reckon Remoy?
Yeah, probably I say the same, Remo.
Yeah, because he's got all his setups to do, hasn't he? So he'll probably forget to buy. He's just the Sentinel player, so he has to like run to his side, do his while listening to the IGL, do all his setup. I think he's forgot to buy before.
It's just every day playing with these guys. It's creating memories, having friends, and just being together with them is awesome to do. Because playing video games is great, but when you can play video games with someone you enjoy and spending time with, it's 10 times more enjoyable, and I really love that. So yeah, that's my answer.
Don't cry.
Welcome on back, everybody, and we're getting ready for our first game. XL versus Alliance. This is going to be a really interesting one. Obviously, Alliance haven't had so much luck recently. They're 0-2 so far. XL doing a little better for themselves. They're 1-1, but we're going to have to see exactly how they match up against each other coming forward into this one. Moxie, tell me about XL.
Yeah, so XL are a really terrifying team to come to grips with. They were the winners of the last split. They were able to beat Alliance to move their way up and try for that promotion spot. They weren't able to find it, and unfortunately they are now back for split 2 for that second attempt, but their three core players, their three massive carries, Mo, Chihuahua, and PATITEK, have all remained on the roster. And these guys, if you were watching Split 1, if you were watching the playoffs, you know how terrifying Mo can be on the scent, how absolutely paranoia fueling it can be to go up against Chihuahua Sentinel, and how terrifying PATITEK on that initiator can just brute force his way into a fight and win.
Yeah, and they've also picked up Alive and Foxy coming into this station. I mean, you'll recognize those names if you watched any of Finest back in VCT last year. They made a name for themselves actually coming out of nowhere in the qualifiers. I remember watching those games with Lothar, and that was absolutely a sight to see. And it was just absolutely brilliant. And now we kind of have this full house of these XL players and these former Finest players. And I'm really, really excited about what these guys can do. We haven't seen so much of them so far, obviously. We've only seen them for 2 weeks. But they're definitely showing some real signs of being a great team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we talk about PATITEK. There's a reason that we talk about PATITEK. His stats are off the absolute chart, as we should be seeing him popping up on the KO right there. Absolutely monstrous in that role on Breeze. And honestly, I feel like if you want to be able to win that first map against them, the first move Alliance have to make is to ban this map out.
Yeah, I mean, you can just see some of the dominance that XL can show, and this is Human Tripwise, the team we saw yesterday, pretty much going ham against H2O, so you can see really exactly kind of you make that inference for yourself on the skill difference here. It's not a skill difference, they just played well. But, you know, this is just how they play, and it's just so dynamic, and this playstyle is so interesting to watch. You know, there's no boring wait around, we'll do all this. They just get straight involved, and every one of their players are so mechanically gifted, so they're an incredibly exciting team, but I think we have some stats to actually back up some of that one very shortly here. So tell us about PATITEK once again, Moxie.
Yeah, so here in Valorant we have ACS, average combat score, which takes into account the amount of kills that you get and also the amount of deaths that you have. You consider it a very successful match if you have an ACS of around about 250. That's pretty good if you're able to hit into the 280s. Exceptional if you're able to move past 320. But what say if you have a 364 when you're not running the duelist, when you're running initiator? That was the ACS that PATITEK posted up, the third best in every single region.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that, and that's a kind of ACS. If you post that in one game, you'd be incredibly happy. This is over the course of a whole week. That's just how many maps was it? It was a two-mapper, wasn't it, that XL went through? So 2 maps, and still the average ACS stayed well above 350. That's an absolutely incredible thing to post up. I just can't believe that. I think in one map, he posted up 440 ACS. What an incredible, as KO. Obviously, the initiator is one of the roles where you can get a really high ACS. Obviously, you know, assists are taken into account, and how early in the round the kill comes from is kind of taken into account as well. So as the initiator, you are kind of getting in on that, but you expect the duelist to be getting this kind of thing. You can see 5.5 KDA, a 441 ACS, and on Breeze against Human Tripwise. It's just unbelievable numbers that this guy can put up. So incredibly exciting player for an incredibly exciting team.
Yeah, this is why I really do feel like you have to immediately get Breeze out of that map pick. This is where he really does just find his stomping grounds. The problem is, then you risk running into Split, another map that XL absolutely adore to play because they have almost a free duelist approach to this. Not only do they have the Raze, but they bring Chihuahua onto the Reyna, and then they run the Chamber as well. And while Chamber isn't actually molded into the duelist role, and touted as such, he does still fit into that sort of mentality of being able to move forward, get a lot of early attention, aggression, even sometimes that first blood, and allowing the team the space to be able to breathe and move on to site.
Well, we can talk about Excel until the cows come home, but we do have to talk about our second team coming up against them. That is Alliance, and we can take a look at some of their highlights right here. Another, you know, it's an exciting team. These guys were incredible in that first stage. They've had some troubles, obviously, getting a roster together at the start of this stage, but we can see some moments of brilliance from them. They just haven't quite got over the line in any of their games yet.
Yeah, I think for Alliance, it's the sort of teething issues of trying to integrate all of these players that they've had to move into to make up for the fact that Lucca, Hype, and Zik have now moved on. And Alliance in Split 1, they were posting these really curveball compositions. They were the ones who were the first ones in Week 1 up against 10-star, 13-0 on Haven, because they were the first to run that Neon, something that was extremely unexpected. But there's very little that we've seen by way of wacky compositions coming out from them. It's all been very safe, very sort of viable, but nothing extremely left field, which means that a lot of these teams have scrimmed and practiced and are prepared for it.
You can see the players here. Obviously, we mentioned it earlier, but Desmo, their coach, and Zoran, who is a player that we saw earlier on in the qualifiers for this, and I think we saw him in the qualifiers for VCT as well. We've seen him play around a bit. Plays a lot of duelists, so filling in for, if I remember correctly, I can't remember exactly which player they're filling that in for, but they are playing 2 substitutions technically over their starting roster, but they do have 3 of those starting players inside, of Malfoy and Nilla coming into this one. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic changes. Obviously, we're not expecting anything absolutely amazing when you do bring in more players. Even, you know, this is a new roster and you're bringing in new subs into that roster. So, you know, pinch of salt when you look at Alliance play.
Yeah, Soren coming in for Albert on that duelist role, and Kadezi's spot being filled by Desmo. It's going to be a little bit harder for this team to be able to try and find the footing and the communication to make these comps work, and it really is going to make map picks extremely important if they want to be able to find that starting momentum. And this is my major concern for this team, because we talk about, okay, Breeze has to go. One of these, either Breeze or Split, has to be out of contention immediately. The problem is, Alliance have 2 maps that they just do not want to play, and that's Fracture and Icebox. Every single time for the 2 weeks that we've seen them previously, they've got those out of the way, and that's going to leave Breeze and Split open.
Yeah, we're going to have to see the rock and the hard place decision in that map veto coming up very shortly. But I'm interested to see exactly what they go for. You mentioned it very well there. You know, Breeze is obviously, you know, a sore spot for them when you're coming up against XL. But when you have those insta-bans as well, it's going to be so difficult to choose whether do we go stop them from getting that insta-pick, or do we stop ourselves from coming into a map we're not comfortable on. Let's take a look at those map picks, and we can see exactly what they went for in terms of that decision. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happened there. Here we go. Map selection. Ascent is going to start things off. You can see the ban is Breeze from XL. That was a second ban. So Alliance picked Fracture and Icebox once again. So they go for their comfort maps.
Okay, well, XL themselves banned out Breeze, but the fact that Alliance banned out their comfort bans, Fracture and Icebox, allowed Split to go on through. It's not the worst outcome for Alliance, because that free pseudo-duelist composition that XL like to run, well, Alliance like to run it as well. But for sure, you want to be able to find a lot of ground on Ascent, and there's a lot of concern about the composition that Alliance are actually going to be coming up against, because, well, yes, you're not facing the KO on Breeze. KO is still just as viable on Ascent. You have to be able to keep a track of where PATITEK is, but at the same time, that means a lot of resources faced on the front line. Is there going to be enough to deal with Chihuahua when they go for the Sentinel flanks?
Yeah, I mean, Ascent, I think both of these teams are very comfortable, and both of them like Ascent quite a bit. I mean, we saw XL kind of going off in the other game, in the highlights we saw from them earlier on that, so they're probably very happy with that one, obviously, but Alliance, they were the ones who selected it, and so I'm interested to see exactly what they think they can bring to the table against the team here, because that's kind of because when you're coming up against a team that you know has a pretty good track record on a map, you've got to basically weigh up exactly how good you are, what strats you have in mind. So I'm interested now, because that does imply that the guys think that they can actually just outmatch completely XL on this map, so that would be incredible from Alliance if they could go ahead and pick a map that, you know, XL are quite comfortable on and go, hey, we'll go head to head with you on this one.
So I think for Alliance, it's all about trying to get that Astra into play. The fact that you do get to move Ascent into the map pool does mean that the Astra is a lot more viable than she is on other maps, even with those nerfs coming on through, and it was something that they struggled with, the fact that Cider had to off-roll onto other agents in regional playoffs on Split 1, because he was looking extremely strong on the Astra, but then the nerf came through right before we moved into regional playoffs, and all of those controllers had to pick up entirely different agents or try to keep running the Astra when the nerfs had hit, meaning that you just had so little utility in terms of those smokes, in terms of getting to use those stars when you really wanted to for that delay purpose. And it really was just this team not being able to move without that controller impact. The fact that Alliance is now coming through and that Cider is still going to be in play does seem to give signals that they want to push that Astra. They want to be able to use those smokes even though there's less of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? When you think about these, and Controller is now a lot more balanced, I think, as a role. You know, we've seen moments where Omen has been massively in meta, and then Astra has been massively in meta, so we don't know exactly what's going to... Yeah, okay, so Foxy is picking up the Omen, and no, we got Malfoy on the Omen this time, which is interesting to see. There we go. So we do have Zoran picking up the Jet, and yeah, you want to talk about that, Fade?
You know me so well, Twiggy. Mo's gonna be picking up the Fade over the Sova. And we talked about this, right? One of the most brutal Fade setups that you can have on defense on Ascent is on that B side, is where you expect that Sova to be. Alliance are running for the old, the trustworthy, the tried and true. XL are coming in with this new composition that Alliance are going to have to try to deal with, and they either have to just give up a lot of that map control, a lot of the space, and push towards the A site, which is going to make it so predictable for PATITEK to just be able to hold with Foxy, or they have to try and push on the Fade, and that's why Soren is going to be there with the Jet.
Yeah, I mean, XL just running what I can only call a complete contact composition. Everything there is a short-range kind of agent going through on that one, whereas Alliance with the Sova, obviously, you've got much longer range on your recon, so I'm expecting to see a little more kind of falling back from them, and you know, this is probably a bit of a patchwork comp. Obviously, they do have two stand-ins. Desmo has already proved his competence as a fill, but we don't know, we haven't really seen any of Soren yet, so we should be, it should be interesting to get that. It's obvious that they picked him up specifically because he's good at that duelist and he's filling in for a duelist, so, you know, obviously very competent. And from what I've seen, he's put up very good stats against some very good teams like FPX. I saw him like up against, I think it was Heat as well, and he put up some good stats against Heat as well, the current roster of Heat that we've seen. So I'm definitely expecting big things from him, and Alliance are actually going very aggressive on this first round, on the defense, pushing all the way up, and it is Alive that takes a lot of damage. He has to fall all the way back here. XL holding them off at a very, very pushed up angle. Alive getting taken down by Cider, but Cider is traded out by PATITEK 3v3 now.
Yeah, we talked about it, right? XL's defense is going to be very contact heavy, which is why they do push forward so aggressively. It is, however, 2 versus 2. Alliance still in control of the spike, not in control of tree, so PATITEK is going to be able to start to creep forward into those dual dark covers and reveal themselves. Shooting through the smoke, not able to find the pick as doors go down, but Chihuahua has the high ground. Now you have to be careful. The turret's going to be going up, trying to just give away a little bit of information on where Alliance are playing, not letting them have the time to get underneath hell, but Malfoy has been able to move through. Now it's going to be a little bit harder for PATITEK to know where they're playing from.
It's just Chihuahua left. The dark cover should be up now for Malfoy, so he does have that opportunity to put down a smoke and stop Chihuahua from getting all the way through. But he's not going to use it, just completely dry. Chihuahua finds one head. He's going to keep turning around the corner. Look for the second, and he will take it. And it is XL that, after a bit of a sweaty end to that round, do take the first round, do take the pistol, just by the skin of their teeth. 2 HP left on Chihuahua.
Yeah, skin of the teeth indeed, but XL will be able to take that round, and now they can make the decision. Do they want to go for the Marshal and try and keep Alliance out of mid, funnel them towards the sites where you can have that Fade set up with those setups on the C's and the Nano Swarm combination over onto main, or push them towards PATITEK if they want to hold with that crossfire of the Omen and the KO over to A main. And it does seem to be the play that XL are opting into. Alliance have no choice but to try and push towards one of these sites unless they want to just eat dirt when they peek that Marshal without armor.
Yeah, that's the thing about this map, is that it's very, very... You've got one lane, really, towards each of the sites, and then you can obviously take mid and go to either through there, which is why mid is so important. But with such a long range and open mid, using pistols to get into there is going to be very difficult. So you really just have to contact your way in if you are forced onto that eco buy. You can see Alliance really want to stick to those two lanes. They don't really want to touch mid whatsoever. They know that there's probably that Marshal coming out from Alive, or at least something very similar to that, in that he has the long range advantage. They're going to head over towards A, leaving one player to just make some contact over towards B, maybe lurk. They are leaving behind one of their initiators there.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. They do have Malfoy with them, so a well-placed Paranoia and the dark cover should be enough to be able to get through one player on A side. The problem is it's two. PATITEK and Foxy are still stuck, still waiting for Alliance to walk into them. And Foxy's gonna have such a good line of sight as the spray comes through, is able to find one. But the trade does come out. PATITEK now is actually gonna invest not the flash drive, but a fragment. And that might be their undoing, but in all of the time taken bought by those two players, Alive has been able to cross from mid onto Rafters, and you can't get through. This is why they were avoiding mid. They knew they had nothing to counteract that Marshal outside of smokes, and the smoke was not that.
Name a more iconic duo, Alive and getting kills from Rafters. This man cannot go wrong there. The Marshal finding two, one from in smoke, one mid teleport, and Cider has really nothing to do whatsoever. Has the spike in hand, but you know, with several seconds on the timer, Chihuahua can just stop that plant. Desmo trying desperately to get some money for the team, and actually I think we'll get that money. Very nice, but XL do win the round. Oh, he gets 2 kills as well. Okay, Desmo.
Yeah, he's gonna be taking that one.
Okay, well, there you go. You know what? Decent round now.
Yeah, spike planted, 2 players dropped, well, more than 2. Alive is actually the only one who's able to, like their namesake, keep themselves alive in that. We were gonna make it eventually.
Funny name.
We knew it was gonna But no, for Alliance, they can consider it a success. Now they can come into this 3rd round, they can buy up into those rifles and really try and challenge XL, because we've seen them struggle trying to push onto these sites cleanly. It's because they haven't had the power, the weaponry to be able to challenge mid. That's now changed.
Oh, you're challenging mid, name of the game. Alive just walks in, gets taken down immediately. They do have better weapons here, Alliance, but Foxy manages to find the head of Nilla now, which actually puts it back down to a 4v4, and that's really awkward for Alliance. This is the round where they didn't want to lose a weapon whatsoever. You can see Desmo bought a Bulldog to get that full armor. Or actually, oh no, Desmo saved the Bulldog. Memory of Goldfish. Desmo wants to keep a hold of that one. Obviously, you want to save as much as you can. He didn't want to buy up into this round and waste that money on this one. But maybe he'll probably feel like it might have been a good choice later on if he can't manage to keep the round afloat with this. Having a bit of a lag issue. All good. Bit. See Alliance contact all the way through on this one. They do really need to win this round, though. It would be very awkward for them if XL managed to take this one away.
Well, they've been able to make it through lane. They've been able to make it onto the site. Should have to clear Boathouse, check the angle, make sure that it's safe, and that's buying enough time for XL to slowly start to move into position. Unfortunately, though, they're still not able to make it past Malfoy until Mo's able to pick up that Omen. Desmo hiding in the dark cover with that Bulldog, making it a little bit harder for Mo to be able to move and challenge. But Chihuahua's flanked all the way around the back, bites Desmo in the ankle. This is suddenly doable for XL.
Oh, Mo gets taken down. He did hit a headshot onto Cider, though. Oh, Soren managing to come up clutch, and it's 3 kills for the newbie, for the sub, who will manage to take that one away. And Alliance do, again, skin of their teeth, take that round, but that is not going to put them in a nice place economically. They'll be able to buy up, but not comfortably.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough spot if they lose this rifle round as well. They're 2 orbs away from getting Bladestorm online, so Soren will be able to fall back onto that one if you get a couple of picks or an alt-orb pickup in this round. So at least it's not going to be the worst eco, but still, you need to really kick XL while they're down, because this buy coming through from the defense is ballsy. It's going to be rifles coming through, they're sacrificing some utilities, they're even sacrificing armor. It's light armor coming out from XL because they know how punishing it's going to be if Alliance lose these rifles. They're going to be on an eco for at least 2 rounds.
Yeah, Alliance really playing into the hands of their own comp quite nicely. They're not forcing the point too much. They do have that longer range initiator capability. They don't need to force a lot like XL do with 2 really contact initiators. Mo is going to push all the way up mid and actually gets paranoid up. But in the corner, alive is his savior. Soren is going to be taken down. Losing your jet there is not nice. Oh, Mo hits a headshot through the wall. Not enough to get the kill. Decider gets that one in the turn, but now a 4v4, and again, Alliance really haven't taken any space. 40 seconds left. If they choose B here, they will get in, but they don't know where all of these XL players are, so they can't really just rush in without thinking about it.
Yeah, especially because there is a nano swarm that is going to meet them if they do try a move for B main. 0 point going to be coming up from PATITEK, just making sure that there is no one there, but the lockdown's going to be giving the game away. The problem is that Chihuahua can just peek out from side spawn and spray through, even through the dark cover. There is little punishment. Desmo is down, 13 seconds left. Lockdown's about to run its course. Finally, Alliance have been able to make it onto site and start to plant, but Chihuahua once again is going to be flanking through mid, is going to be coming up behind you, and you have to be prepared for this outcome. Is Cider going to turn around? Yes, he is.
He manages to hit the headshot onto Alive, and he's ready for the second to turn around, but Chihuahua is quicker with the headshot. And in turn, there goes the lockdown. In this 2v3, that's really just going to make it all the more difficult for them to hold on to this one. Foxy trading around kills, and PATITEK manages to take down Nilla. It's not really a difficult round there for XL. They felt in control for most of that one. That kill from Chihuahua through the dark cover was absolutely crucial to making sure that Alliance really couldn't hold on to the site very well.
Yeah, what was also really crucial was the fact that Mo moved forward so aggressively. Guess has a pistol, and you think, okay, with a pistol, why are you going that far forward against a lot of members of Alliance? But Mo actually sacrifices themselves almost to land a siege to connect onto the members of Alliance so that Alive can peek out with the rifle and get a pick knowing that they are going to be stuck in that space. And you really can see the synergy that this team has. XL have used to be playing together. It's pretty much most of the same roster from Split 1, and it's showing in their gameplay, even though Fade is a relatively new agent, and a lot of these teams are admitting that they don't really want to run her without the time to be able to go for these set plays and properly learn how they want to line up. XL are showing that they have more than enough regards to that one.
Alliance have already made their way into A, completely cut off every member of XL with a very quick push. You can see Mo has his lineups ready on Fade, and he's going to be trying to reveal all of them with that horn. That is one fully revealed. Now they're going to check under rafters. They've already just done so much damage, and nothing can be done in return. They know that there's only one player left. It's Nilla in white, Marshall in hand, but with 5 players to kill, that's going to be very difficult. Chihuahua will finish things off, and it's XL with a flawless round.
Yeah, I love as well this weapon buy coming out from XL. The fact that it's a Guardian, they know the state that Alliance's economy is on, and that if they want to try and go for either mid control or push onto that A site to keep a player out from rafters, they almost have to buy into something like a Marshall. And so the Guardian comes out so that you don't have that economic sort of assumption and decide to go with something like an Operator. But you still have that long distance fight where you can challenge, make sure that Alliance can't use that Marshall to find the space that it is looking for. However, now Alliance are coming in on full rifles, and once again, this is a crucial round for them. Are they going to be able to win, or are they once more going to be back onto that eco?
Let's see, Alliance really want to get this round in their hands. Last one didn't work out, but that's understandable. They were on an eco. If they get this one, going to be a sign of them being able to keep up with this game, but they really do need to, at the very least, show that they're capable of this one at this point. 3 rounds in hand for XL. And a very similar economy for both teams. Hunter's Fury defensively for Cider, trying to keep away the XL players, but Nilla is doing all of the gun work. 3 down already for them. That's 2 kills and 1 for that KO down. But Alive, he comes back in. This is really just where this new pickup for XL does work. Alive with 3 already, looking for the 3rd, but Cider round the corner, and Nilla will get his 4th to finish things off.
Ooh, Cider breathes a big sigh of relief that that Hunter's Fury was not cut short by null command, because that could have been devastating. Thankfully, the Sova, not suppressed, still able to find a little bit of information, a little bit of damage, so nearly can, with the rifle, gun down the rest. Here, though, is commitment in terms of that eco. Alive is going to be buying into an operator, and we very do feel like we're thrown back into that round where Alliance, having lost that pistols, can't push mid, can't try and challenge the Marshal. The operator is the Marshal's bigger, badder cousin.
Well, Alive. Oh, has that operator out, and Desmo is not getting away from that one. It was almost a collateral. Two players were right next to each other. Soren almost tasted that bullet as well. But at least Mo is down from XL. At least Alliance can be happy about that one. Malfoy, hello. That's a wall. But it doesn't matter. He can get the kill anyway. Foxy down. Malfoy just reading tea leaves on the wall to figure out where the opponents are. Alive. Close range with the operator, but that's going to be an interesting kill to try and get Malfoy. Fortunately, he was teleporting away at the time and did not manage to get the kill onto them, but it is Alive. 1 versus 2. With just an operator and a Blade Storm. Should definitely help in this retake. But do you want to commit that one when you are economically looking at an eco next round? Probably going to want that Blade Storm to keep up that economy. And at this point, maybe, I think the screen might be frozen here. I don't think he is sitting just here. We'll have to see exactly what goes on.
I mean, I did hear window smash, right? So he was absolutely trying to play the sort of, okay, window smash, there's a rafter thank you. You think with the operator he's going to be trying to either save the weapon or get to that high ground. The problem is that Alliance, from where we can see, they haven't fallen for it. And the operator, if you do try and challenge the space, it can be extremely clunky, very punishing, especially if it's a 1 versus 2. One player can peek out and bite into that operator shot, force out the reload time, while the second player goes for the nip.
Yeah, I think the idea was to go for exits there, and you could see on the overlay at the very least that the 2 remaining players of Alliance fell prey to the spike there. So Alive kept that operator, and is able to go into the next round with that one. So doing a good job at least of making Alliance pay a little bit for that round win, and they are going to have to expend all of their money to buy up into this next one. Sorry about technical issues, guys. It's all good. We're managing it. We'll put together a good show for you either way. But it is Alliance with the better buy up into this one, although neither team has a good one.
Yeah, Foxy's going to be coming in on that Marshal. Chihuahua still has the operator though, so you do have to worry about that, especially with the opening 2 picks coming out for XL. So once again, Alliance going a little bit too aggressive. The Terror Trail now attached to Nilly, so you can't even try and push forward and avenge your fallen teammates. Still able to find the wall, not the wall bang, but the pick onto Chihuahua before the Killjoy is able to make it safely into market. Now you can try and push onto that B side, but look where Foxy is holding on side spawn. Sider's gonna have to try and push into the fade, but this should be when the Omen reveals themselves. There's the Marshal, but you're forced away. It's not quite the operator, not quite that level output of damage, but still enough to take Sider's head.
Foxy is a talented man with that Marshal that makes it work perfectly. PATITEK will finish things out. It's 5-3 now to XL after what was a very good round for them being able to come away with that.
And here is the reward for XL winning the round. They're able to buy into the operator, whereas Alliance, not so much. It's going to be once again an eco coming through. They're the ones having to trot out the Marshal. And while yes, you do have your ultimates, you do have the Blade Storm, which can find the picks. The problem is that the Jet moves forward so quickly, you're not necessarily in space for the rest of the teammates to be able to pick up rifles from the players that the Jet downs.
Now playing for control of mid Alliance, this is a completely different look to them. We haven't really seen them go for mid control so far yet, but they do have to come up with something different. Because so far, when on, you know, even economy, they haven't really come away with the rounds as they've wanted to. They're really going to need to do just a little more to get these, and on this eco bite, at least Soren can try and get stuff done with the Blade Storm. Dash completely used up there. No opportunity to get away with that one this time, so gonna have to play a little more carefully round these corners. Here comes the flash, and they're gonna try and move in, but they're clearing everything one by one. They don't yet know where XL like to play. PATITEK opens things up, and the pop flash of his own to try and smoke out Desmo there. He walks into the smoke and does die. It is Soren who gets pop flashed as well, and PATITEK is not missing a single one of these. That's 4 for him, and he's looking for the ace, but Sider's just over the other side of the map now. It's going to be a manhunt to take down this final player, and it is PATITEK who's going to be looking for it first, checking every corner in mid. Where is Cider? I'm going to find you. He tries to get that. Oh, there it is. There's the charge. It's going to draw him out, and he does find the ace. It's PATITEK with one of the most controlled aces I've ever seen. It was just one by one. There was nothing even. The tempo did not rise past, you know, a walking pace there. He was completely comfortable.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a reason, right? If he gets pushed, Foxy is there to lend a helping hand in line, can use the paranoias as well to stun up all of those players in Alliance who, without any sort of crossfire, just run straight in to a non-plussed KO, and it very much feels like the XL that we saw in Split 1, where PATITEK was playing off of Aussie on the Omen back then with the exact same set play onto the A side. They've initiated Foxy into the playstyle, and they're still finding value with it, because if you're Reliance, how do you break this? You can try and send Sorin to dash in, but then you're going to be committing so much smoke, so much flashes, that if you're not successful, not only have you lost your duelist, but you've lost the way that you can keep yourself safe if you'd have to cross through mid, something that we're seeing Alive constantly hold over Alliance's head. You can't peek the operator, not like that.
Mo manages to find 2 before being taken down. Desmo and Malfoy, that's going to make attacking just that much more difficult. You've lost your contact initiator, and you've lost your controller to be able to play that post-plant situation. So now, really just playing completely, I would say, very much a, I don't know, this is the kind of driest comp I can see coming through. There's not really much utility to use around here. You're just going to have to play everything by ear.
And they've been spooked away from that A side as well. B is going to be the option, but shooting that Killjoy turret forces Soren's hand, has to use the dash, has to use the Clydeburst to try and keep themselves out of Chihuahua's sight. They're remembering that lockdown, they're remembering the pop-out that the Killjoy was able to pull off with the rifle. They do have sight, they do have spike down, they can pull back into the boathouse, which makes the operator a little less of a problem to worry about, but it's still a 3 versus 2.
Oh, and Alive and Chihuahua are going off. It's Nilla to try and hold them off, but Chihuahua makes it 7 for the team. I mean, again, not really too hard pressed to come away with that round win. Obviously, a lot of action at the start of the round, but XL played it quite nicely towards the end. Obviously, they'd already taken down 2 of arguably the most important kind of agents on that attack side.
Yeah, there's a real struggle, right? When you lose that KO, when you lose that Omen, it is down to the Jet to make the space alone, and because you have that little utility on the Jet to your own name without the teammate support, when Alliance are actually onto that site, they don't have any smokes, they don't have any flashes to keep XL at bay so that they can pop out of Boathouse, do a little bit of chip damage, pop back behind the natural cover, reload, and then start the fight anew, or even draw it out long enough that XL can't get the defuse. And it's going to be the same problem, but this time, Alive getting aggressive, uses the Nightfall to cut sound for Reliance, so they have no clue that you're moving that aggressively forward with the updraft, and it finds the first pick onto Nile.
PATITEK millimeters away from being able to get that pick. With the flick from the operator here, Chihuahua just holding down the A site and making sure they just don't get in too quickly. They're just standing there now, and everybody has been given time to rotate through, and it is Alive that picks up 2 with the spray transfers. PATITEK takes down 1, but Malfoy is already in behind. Takes down Alive with a quick kill, but there's the knife from PATITEK to finish things off, and it feels like XL are kind of playing with their food now.
Yeah, an ace for PATITEK, now a knife kill. XL looking extremely comfortable. We knew that Alliance would have problems coming into this. Their composition, their team play is not what they wanted it to be, but then again, they're running with 2 subs, and XL are taking advantage of that. They know that Alliance, without that cohesion to their name, they can't really go for fakes. If a team pushes, it is all going to be in the same space that they're committing into, and they really are punishing the predictability of when Alliance pop up. This time around, they've swapped up positions though. PATITEK's going to be playing onto the B side, Alliance having to push onto the A. They think a KO is going to be there. They might not be expecting. It's the Killjoy instead, playing a little bit further back. Now, definitely not wanting to run into that null command, but here comes Foxy, here comes Mo. Keep an eye behind you, because Alliance, they think the space is clear because of the null command. They might not be ready for the backstab to come through.
Yeah, luckily, they are playing that Killjoy, which does hold off that back line with a turret every now and then. It's just whether you can keep close enough to that one, but the Hunter's Fury is going to come out from Cider very early, and that's going to allow Mo to get in right behind, get that pick, take the second down onto Malfoy. PATITEK just running in with his knife out. I'm not sure exactly what was going through his head at that point. Maybe just a 441 ACS last time he played against a team which he thought he could win against. Everybody's locked down. Here are the knife kills. Lovely, lovely. Let's get that over with. Look, XL is starting to get a little BM at this point, I feel like.
Yeah,
9-3 for the half.
For Alliance, because they have to initiate him with the lockdown, XL can avoid it and play sidelines. And then, unfortunately for Alliance, they get stuck on site. They can't move into main or wine because that flank is coming through. The backstab crunch from Foxy and Mo. So when the lockdown hits, they're stuck right slap bang in the middle of it. And it leads to those 2 knife kills. However, sides have swapped now. XL's going to be on the attack, Alliance on the defense. They too have a KO, they too have an Omen. They can pull off the same crossfire that XL has been playing onto that A side, and that's the reason why XL, they're putting a little bit of pressure onto mid, they're putting a little bit of pressure onto the B. They're staying very clear of A main because they are expecting same medicine to be delivered to them.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be a very important round now for Alliance, and even if they lose this round, I get the feeling they're going to be buying up into the next. So getting away with at least a few kills here would be brilliant for them. Cider is not going to use that recon dart being revealed by the Haunt. Just going to move all the way back. Give them a bit of time to think about stuff. If XL aren't pushing us, why should I show myself? Oh, but it's Malfoy who's actually playing a very nice position here. Can't get the kill though. Foxy is so quick on the trigger that Malfoy had absolutely no chance to shoot back at them. Desmo is the next one round the corner. Pop flash. Nobody's there yet. Foxy takes a lot of damage as well as Alive, but Alive is the first to find the kill. And it's Soren who has to clean things up on the A site now. Gets one. Doesn't know where that next player is playing though. Just the lack of information for the team at the moment is making things so much more difficult, and they've been shoehorned into mid, while somehow XL, the attacking team, has all of the map control.
Yeah, XL already got the spike down, sitting up onto that B side. Alliance gonna have to try and connect through, but are they going to be ready for Foxy to flank out from Rafters? They are keeping an eye on that back, because they do know that the Omen likes to go for the flanks, and this time they are able to punish it. However, it's a 3 versus 3. Spike's already gone down. You don't have anything to really force them out of Boathouse other than that shock dart. It's going to do a little bit of chip damage, but PATITEK once again is being an absolute thorn in Alliance's side. Soren is going to try and tap that spike, get a little bit of diffuse through. Just to stick half before PATITEK's able to make it onto the site. They've spotted each other. The dash is there. PATITEK's still able to find the pick, though. And Alliance, they almost had it. But once again, PATITEK is able to be the player that XL needs to hit double digits.
Yeah, it was such a close round for Alliance, and that really does give them the opportunity to buy into this round if they want to, especially when they get to that double digits. I mean, Alliance showed some great ability to be able to just be aware of what was going on around them. Obviously, they got all the map control taken away from them, but they were aware that players could be here or there or just anywhere. They had that kind of vision of what's going on. But this time, they are just going to eco into this and play it for those last couple rounds. They're really going to play it up to the wire. So this is going to be a really interesting defense from them. If they get a few picks, massive. But if not, it's going to be really, really unfortunate. And Chihuahua is just going to open things up with a pistol himself.
They do now know with that pick that XL are making their way towards the B side. But Mo's got a bulldog, and there's the bite. Desmo is down, the KO removed. Malfoy is the one who has to try and keep XL occupied before the spike can move on forward. But at this point in time, XL, they don't want the spike plant, they want the kills. Alliance not able to win this second round in the second half. And XL are barreling at the speed of sound towards match point. Alliance, they have to be able to turn things around. They're trying to buy into that traditional defense that we see this overplay onto the B side, and then they think better of it. Odin is a big investment in terms of that money. Instead, it is going to be the Vandal coming out from Cider.
Yep, now we're going to see Esports Doug. What are you thinking about this one? Because if the 9-3 curse is real, now is the time for it to show its face for Alliance. Now is when they can start getting that. That's a lovely lineup into Market. But unfortunately, nobody is playing Market on the Alliance side. So instead, Prowler going to be used. Nobody found, although it was shot.
Yeah, but Twiggy because no one's playing market, Alive's been able to actually move on up. They have so much information. And the fact that Alliance are going to be sitting on these sidelines, and even though they have the rifles, there's no distance. Excel not revealing themselves, getting up close and personal, so even though they're on a weaker buy, suddenly those Spectres have kill potential.
Oh man, it's a lot of damage that was done to PATITEK. That does make things difficult, and also one-way smoke is going to keep him in that corner, I think. If they just keep an eye on that area, although they have given it up, and they're actually going to put all of that body power towards B Alliance, committing a lot, despite having such a better buy in this one. Trying to re-clear mid and just make sure they have full control of that area around market. That could spell disaster here for XL, and now would be the time for Alliance to put that forward. Neil is going to take a few shots through the wall after being revealed. But now is when XL need to make something happen. 26 seconds remaining in the round, and Alliance are surrounding this side. It is XL that are going to try and rotate all the way round. Desmo and Malfoy watching down mid. Alive can't quite find the head with the Marshal. He's going to keep on going. He has a spike in hand. He needs to get it down in the next 13 seconds. Cider takes out Chihuahua on the site, and now Alive can't get anywhere near. PATITEK with 2 kills, but there's no way he can win the round at this point.
Yeah, but for XL, they don't need to win the round. They just need to topple Alliance's economy. And they got 3 kills in that round when only one of them had a rifle. And so for Alliance, once again, they don't have the good economy. They can't buy into things like an Operator or an Odin, which just make your defense, while they don't guarantee a round win, they make it exponentially easier. So that you can just cross the off early round on B with that Odin spray. You can know that you have that threat output to try and keep control of mid, that if XL attack onto the A side, it has to be very quickly so that you don't have time to go for that rotation onto rafters. All of these are going to be avenues the defense are lacking.
Here we go. Alliance, you really need to make this one work, and they have poured up well into this one. They're going to be expending every dollar they can moving forward, or every credit, I should say. We are a an international game here. PATITEK, though, taking down one through the smoke is really, really going to hurt this. And XL, they don't even want to push off that. They're just going to sit back and wait. They know they've got the kill they needed. They're bringing up that money. They bought into this one, despite not needing to, having 7 rounds in hand. It's so important now that they do keep up this momentum and take that away from Alliance. You don't want Alliance to get ahead of themselves, get confident. That could really spell the end of your game. We've seen it before. We could see it happen one more time.
Oh, hello Foxy. Keeping an eye, waiting to see whether Alliance are pushing aggressively out from B. And when the push from XL comes onto that A, you can start to move through mid, punish Nile so far sat back, but Foxy's got information. Players aren't pushing from main.
30 seconds left.
B side is going to be a lot emptier. You've sold the bait that they're going towards the A, but here's the rotation coming through, and there's the punishment. Foxy's still able to find 2! Because Alliance, they did not have control of mid. It wasn't safe to cross. And suddenly, because they didn't look, Alliance just run into a speed truck. That is an omen.
This is why you check both sides when you cross the street, you know. It's always going to be coming from the left or the right if you're from a country that does not drive on the left. But you got to check both sides. You never know. There could be a crazed Alive coming from, you know, out of absolutely nowhere to come and run you over. So check both sides before you cross the street, guys. Just a public service announcement on that one. Alliance, they need to check every side of every piece of attack that XL can come up with here, because they don't have a lot of money in their hands, and Neela is just going to be pushed all the way back. Cider trying desperately to get a bit of damage through the wall with the Sheriff, but he's been revealed through that Haunt, and XL aren't wasting any time whatsoever. The lockdown comes through. You can see the Prowlers are going to be used as well to get them in on this one. And it is just Alliance that have to run away. Cider all the way towards the back of Boathouse there, but at that point, you know, the rest of the team trying to come in, they can't really go anywhere. There's so much utility being used by XL to stop them from getting anywhere. Chihuahua is there with the first 2 kills. Soren brings out the Blade Storm. Mo is quick with the headshot. Neela, it's all up to you, and Mo is going to close it out for a 13-4 game, a dominant first showing from XL.
Yeah, it's an outcome that we sort of expected coming into this match, looking at the fact that Alliance were playing with 2 subs. It did mean, Twiggy's caught in a dark cover. It's okay, guys.
Got it.
Hey, he's back.
Yeah, that was not production's fault. That was my fault. Sorry about that one. All good. Sometimes it happens. Anyway, I mean, XL really just showed their dominance on that one. They seemed fully in control. There was no worrying about anything whatsoever. They didn't seem to overdo anything. They were just kind of in their comfort zone, I think, to start things off, and we kind of expected that. XL are a very good team on Ascent, and they picked a comp that was very good for it.
Yeah, and I mean, you do have to remember, right, looking at Excel, looking at how their defense went, they were just able to have such a brutal crossfire set up onto this A site that it was next to impossible for Alliance to be able to break in. And even when you didn't have to worry about that KO and the Omen being there to stop you, since you didn't really have a lot of mid control, Alive would always get a very early first blood, and then Alliance not able to move fast enough onto that A site would never be able to punish the fact that Alive would then have to rotate to Rafters. And every single time we would see Alive in mid, and then Rafters always getting value in one or the other, or sometimes even both. And that's before we even go into the monstrous showing that PATITEK had on the KO.
Yeah, not quite the dominance of the 441 ACS, but still just putting up numbers all over the field, putting up everything they needed to. That's the thing. Mo got involved so much, Alive, Foxy, they all got involved so often that there was no way one player could get over 400 ACS, I don't think. So yeah, I mean, it was just XL, fully controlled, fully in control of the game the whole way through, and 13-4 really shows off exactly how good it was from them.
Yeah, well, there it is. It's not quite going to be that 4-4-1, but PATITEK is still going to be our MVP. Nearly, on the other hand, going to be coming out from Alliance, and we did see all of that sort of strategy was in place when they wanted to use the lockdown to get into these sites. They were able to use the lockdown to get into these sites, and again, it does feel like there just wasn't really that synergy, that reliance on the fact that you could use your smokes or your paranoias or even the jet to move forward to break into the sites, that you had to use the lockdown to initiate rather than to hold on to that space and delay. That did seem to just continuously punish Alliance in terms of ult management.
Yeah, and I think you can really see that Alliance have that individual competence. Everybody is very good at the game. And you could see Soren was getting some really great kills, some really great plays by themselves. But the thing is, when you can't really work together in the way that a team that has been together for a while, that has really got to know each other, it can be so much more difficult to formulate an attack and react to plays that they come up with. Because you just don't have that experience to be able to go, okay, this is what we're going to do, guys. And they, like, you know, set number 2, let's just go for this play or whatever. It's not reactive, it's more you've got to think about everything you do, and that can really take away from the mechanical side of the game and really just take away from what you're trying to accomplish to begin with. So you could see the way experience really just can be the dominant factor over mechanics there, and Alliance just couldn't really quite match up. But they are going to have, obviously, another 2 maps to try and bring that one back if they win this next map.
Yeah, and it is going to be a big old if, because Split was one of those maps that we were worried about getting to come on through. It is one of those ones that XL feel a lot more comfortable on. True, I think it's a lot better than if Breeze was in play, seeing as these two teams do like to go for mirror matchups. That is, however, when Alliance have their full composition, and it's going to be a lot harder to make 3 pseudo-duelists work when you're once again running with players who are lacking that full team synergy of 5 players who constantly scrim, constantly practice, and are very used to how other players like to push forward, how aggressively they like to hold, whether they want to go for a little bit more passive play. That I think is something that we really have to see Alliance be able to adapt into if they want to be able to come back in this series.
Alright then, coming back in this series is going to be the name of the game for Alliance. Can they pull off the reverse sweep and get their first win here in the group stage of Polaris? Find out in just a few minutes. We're going to go to a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
Hello guys, it's me, PATITEK Fabrowski. I'm playing for Team Excel and I'm second duelist and flex for Team Excel.
Hello, I'm Yegor Stepanuk, playing for Team Excel, playing on Anchor role.
I think like throughout the group stage we had a few bumps, like versus Alliance and versus Tundra, but when we were coming towards playoffs, like we fixed those mistakes that lost us the games in the group stage. I think like overall our performance throughout the whole league was solid. We could have played better, of course.
I was really confident before first split and we won it kinda like expected, but we were struggling in playoffs. I hope this time we will not do it. It's gonna be like our redemption.
I mean, it felt good because like it was our goal from the beginning to win the whole thing because we wanted to qualify to the VCT, and like winning Polaris was the basically first step to do it. We changed to players, like that's the first thing, right? Like we're gonna be changing the structure in which like we work, you know, the whole schedule, like everything is gonna get reworked, so we can like put in maximum effort and like at the same time with maximum performance, you know, so like we're not wasting any effort and we have value from things that we do.
We changed players, like we have new IGL, Foxy, and new operator player, it's Alive. I think these guys will add a lot of new stuff in our team. I hope it will work.
I think with this team that we have right now, we believe that we can qualify to VCT, and of course we're gonna try to win Polaris again, and we're gonna try to go to the VCT Promotion Tournament again and try to win it, obviously.